So what's going on, everybody? Thanks again for stopping on by. We're going to be going over week 8. I think it's week 8. I'm not even sure anymore. Feel free to let me know and remind me where we're at. But we're going to be going over single page applications with React. So that means React Router, HTTP, AJAX, CRUD, all that fun stuff. So we'll be right back.
Maybe I don't understand it. You're changing, I can't stand it. My heart can't take this damage.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. I'm so happy to have you guys here. If you could just hit the like, subscribe, maybe even share, if you're feeling adventurous. All right, so don't do it if you're not feeling adventurous. If you are, however, and you feel like you're a madman that just needs to take a chance on something, just feel free to share it. And down below, I also have some links to some friends of mine. Some of the people are in the cohort with me, so they're basically going through the same thing, but maybe having different things happening to them, different feelings, different emotions. So if you want to get a deeper dive into things, just feel free to go down there and see what I got. I also try to put up some material every now and then to something that might be relevant that I found interesting to what we're learning that helped me out. So I try to put that every now and then in there. And then I also have a GoFundMe page down there if you want to help support me in the channel while I'm going through school, seeing as how I'm not really working for about 7 months straight. That's a very long time. Keep that in mind. But whether you do or not, I'm still going to be making these videos to document what I go throughout the school. So without further ado, this week we covered single page application. Now the concept behind that is React. Whenever you hear about React, everybody's talking about how it's a single page application thing. Its main focus is just UI. It does that really well. What does that really mean? Well, what that means is when you first put on React, the first thing you'll notice is that your index.html only has one div in it. And that div is usually a root or something like that. And all of that information is being passed to that one root div. And so everything's being rendered through that. All right. Now, how are you going to link all this stuff together? Because, I mean, as awesome as it sounds, you can't really build an entire website on a single page. You just can't. You can't, if you have, let's imagine Amazon, the entire shopping list of Amazon being on one page. All right. So what React does is it has React Router. And what React Router does, all it does really is just kind of says what is going to be rendered and what is not going to be rendered, what needs to be replaced and what does not need to be replaced. So if you have a nav bar at the top and you know that nav bar is going to be there no matter what, you can make it just sit there forever. It doesn't need to be, re-rendered. Why? Nothing's changing. Why would an entire page need to be refreshed and a user have to sit there and wait for it to be refreshed when it's just going to come back with the same information? The same event listeners, the same buttons, the same, everything. And so what React Router does is you get to customize and tell it what you want refreshed, what components need to be in what page. So it really pushes forward that component mentality of, okay, reusable code. I want to put this over here and this over here, and I want to be able to reuse it. I don't want to just have to write it over and over and over again, because React Router is going to take care of that for you. And so real cool stuff. A little bit heavy, but not very bad, kind of awkward to get used to when you first start on it, but as you go along, you kind of it just feels natural, like things just start making sense. We also covered HTTP and AJAX requests. We covered CRUD methodology, which is create, read, update, and delete. And so what that is let's say you have information from an API or a database. Let's say you have a array of objects that has information, some form of a JSON file maybe. What that does is it grabs it from that API and kind of just smacks it onto your website. That's really all it does. A lot of it is concepts that we've been already covering throughout the previous weeks, so there's nothing new that you need to take in that you haven't done before. The only thing difference is just the syntax that's used. We're going to be using Axios. And so Axios, all it is just kind of like a small module that you add on there to make fetch requests a lot easier. With Axios, you kind of just simplify it a little bit more. We didn't have to do backend, but because we're going to be doing backend, I think 2 weeks from now or so, but we did have to be able to go through the server file, which is just a JS file, and we go through that and read everything on there and kind of just go over it, skim through it, be able to understand it so you know what information needs to be pulled from where, what happens if you make an error, things like that. So the end project is we built a very simple Smurf application, and all it is you have information on a server and you start the server. You pretty much figure out how to get information from the server and also how to update information to the server and how to add information to the server. You can also delete information from the server. So you pretty much do the whole CRUD thing on there. You don't have to do all of that in order to pass the MVP. For stretch goals, you can do that. For the most part, all you had to worry about was how to get information from there and how to submit information like through a form. Also, you had to add some of the router capabilities. So even though you have two things like a form and a list on the same page, you know, how would you put that into a multiple pages, you know, using React Router, nav links, you know, whatever you have to do. So very, very simple concept. Honestly, it took me probably, I'd say maybe 15 to 30 minutes to do the MVP for the sprint, which a lot of times people think that the sprints are just there to like push you to your limits and challenge you completely and make you fail. And that's not really the case. A lot of the times I've noticed that even though we're always anxious for the sprint, in reality, it's just something that, for one, your PMs are not allowed to help you. But that's because they want to make sure that you have the information down. So it's not extremely difficult. It's meant to be just something that you go through just to say, okay, I got this down, I got this down, I got this down. So they know and you know what information you understood throughout that week. I think 1 or 2 out of like the 8 sprints that I've done have been like really savagely challenging. You know, the rest of them have just kind of gone through the motions and been really chill, made for a great Friday because you have a lot of downtime or just time to kind of play around with your website and include more stuff. They're not as bad as they might sound, you know. And so that's it, guys. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them down below. And as always, if I don't know the answer, I will do the best I can to go find them. I will grab somebody, bring them here if I need to, but we'll get those answers for you guys. All right, see you guys next week.